These past few weeks, there's been a lot going on with Roblox. What if I told you that even if they got rid of the CEO of Roblox, nothing would change? Salam, my name is Mustafa. I am a game developer. I've worked within the AAA game industry. Currently, I work on indie games. I have one available on Steam, and I'm currently working on another one. A quick recap of the situation with Roblox. There's a user with a large YouTube channel who goes by Schlep. He's built his online brand around Roblox, and since I'm not sure which words to completely avoid to say on YouTube because YouTube doesn't like certain topics to be talked about, I'm going to refer to certain people as Adobe Acrobat Reader PDF files. I don't like speaking in code and there are better words to use, but because I don't know which words YouTube certainly doesn't like, I'm just going to avoid using those other words. Anyways, in the last year, Schlep helped arrest 6 PDF files. All of his accounts ended up getting banned on Roblox. They also sent him a cease and desist saying that he's not allowed on Roblox anymore and that he can't do this on Roblox. Schlep ended up explaining the situation on YouTube and then went extremely viral. Everyone's talking about it now. Now that I got you caught up with the situation, there are petitions online, over 100,000 signatures to terminate David Baszucki, who is the founder and CEO of Roblox. Obviously, this is in response to them banning Schlep. The petition also states that the CEO didn't act fast enough when it comes to reporting PDF files online. The reason why I feel like getting rid of David Baszucki is not going to help fix anything is because Roblox is a large corporation. I do believe that executives need to be held accountable when they make mistakes. And I'm not trying to protect him and say that he needs to keep his job. What I'm saying is, even if you get rid of him, the problem isn't solved. First of all, when a CEO or executive ends up making a big mistake, they end up having what's called a golden parachute, which is a safe exit out of the corporation and usually landing into a similar job. People at this level cannot fail. Even when they do fail, they still have tons of money and get another similar job. For example, let's look at Riccitiello. He's the former CEO of Electronic Arts, EA Games. He got hired as CEO in 2007. His big thing was pushing games as a service. He has a famous quote saying that if people play at least 6 hours of Battlefield 3, they are willing to pay $1 every time they reload the gun. This isn't him just joking around. This is him seriously trying to think of ways to nickel and dime the customer, milk every last penny out of us. People like him are what's driving the game industry into a money-making industry rather than an art-making industry. I do believe when making a large budget game, there is a responsibility to try to make as much money as possible so that everyone who worked on the game gets paid fairly. But when the objective for making games becomes only making money, then you basically lose the point of making a good product. It becomes more about exploiting the customer instead. Under Riccitiello, EA won the worst company in America 2 years in a row. And to prove the point that these CEOs fail upwards, in 2013, Riccitiello left EA after the company's stock dropped 65%. And then within a year of leaving, he became the CEO of Unity, which is one of the larger game engines used by indie game developers. Having the company's stock drop 65% is huge. If I had any job anywhere, it doesn't matter what type of job it is, and I end up making the place 65% worse, you know they're not going to keep me there. It doesn't matter if I'm a game designer or if I'm a cashier at a grocery store. No one wants somebody who makes the place 65% worse. And for those of you who aren't aware, as he's the CEO of Unity, in 2023, he pushed for charging developers for the Unity runtime fee. Meaning that when a game developer uses Unity, releases a game, and after a certain threshold of having the game downloaded by so many people, then Unity would charge the developer for so many downloads. This wouldn't affect all developers, but it affects those who have very successful games that are downloaded more than others. This is very anti-developer, and it discourages game developers from using your engine. That's why John Riccitiello had to leave Unity as well. And John Riccitiello isn't just a one-off. We also saw Don Mattrick during that same time period of 2007 to 2013. He was the head of the Xbox division. He oversaw the Xbox One reveal and completely botched it. He had controversial always online requirements for the console, restrictions on purchasing used games, and he had that controversial statement in which he said, if you don't have an internet connection, we have a console for you. It's called the Xbox 360. And that was the previous console. There was huge backlash against him, and he was the laughingstock of the game industry at the time. And then within a week of leaving Microsoft, he became the CEO of Zynga. And this is my point, that the game industry has a revolving door for CEOs and executives. Out goes one executive, in comes another clown. Corporations aren't just run by one guy. Corporations have a unified mindset of all the people who are on the top level. You get rid of one guy and it doesn't change anything because the corporate machine is still there. Corporations don't change just after one guy leaves. The next guy who comes in will come from the exact same small pool of CEOs in the game industry, and that person will have the same mindset and will do the same things. And this is why replacing Roblox CEO David Baszucki is not going to make any significant changes. And this is why I feel like it's so important to support game developers who love making games and want to make good games. The biggest impact we'll make is once we start supporting the smaller developers rather than keep supporting these big corporations who continue to do big corporation things. Let me know what you think about this situation in the comments below. Please be mindful of your language, as I know that YouTube doesn't like certain words to be said. And if YouTube sees too much of certain words in the comments, then that can hurt the video's discoverability overall. So I would really appreciate if you be mindful of what you say. Please leave a like and subscribe. Take care. Salam.